Most people think success comes from originality. They think the people who build great companies, create breakthrough ideas, or achieve extraordinary results are somehow born with unique insights that nobody else possesses. But what if that isn't true? What if the fastest path to success is not innovation? What if it's imitation? That sounds wrong. In fact, it sounds so wrong that many people immediately reject the idea. Because from the time we're children, we're taught that copying is bad. In school, copying is called cheating. In business, copying is called uncreative. In life, copying is often seen as a sign of weakness. Let me ask you a strange question. If I gave you a map that led directly to a treasure worth $1 million, would you use it? Of course you would. Almost everyone would. Now let me ask a harder question. What if that treasure wasn't money? What if it was a successful business model, a proven investment framework, a YouTube strategy that already works, a decision-making process used by highly successful people? For some reason, when the treasure becomes knowledge, people behave differently. Suddenly, they don't want the map anymore. They want to create their own map. They want to discover their own route. They want to prove they can figure it out themselves. And that is where years of unnecessary struggle begin. Keep that idea in mind, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why some people reach their goals in 5 years, while others spend 20 years trying to reinvent what already works. There is a man who built his entire life around this idea. His name is Mohnish Pabrai. If you have never heard of him, don't worry. Most people haven't. But his story might completely change how you think about learning, success, and personal growth. Years ago, Pabrai wasn't a famous investor. He wasn't managing hundreds of millions of dollars. He wasn't speaking at conferences or appearing in financial magazines. He was simply an engineer trying to build a better future. Then one day, while waiting for a flight at Heathrow Airport, he picked up a book. Inside that book, he read about Warren Buffett. Buffett had been producing extraordinary results for decades. Most people would have admired him and moved on. Pabrai did something different. He asked, what if I just copied him? Not improved him, not challenged him, not outsmarted him. Copied him. So that's exactly what he did. He read everything Buffett wrote. He studied every interview. He attended annual meetings. He spent years understanding how Buffett thought. And over time, that decision helped transform him from an engineer into a multi-millionaire investor. The interesting thing isn't that Pabrai copied Buffett. The interesting thing is that most people wouldn't. Why? Ego. The biggest obstacle to learning isn't intelligence, it's ego. Ego whispers, I already know that. My situation is different. I'll do it my own way. The problem is that ego often disguises itself as intelligence. Think about it. Someone wants to build a YouTube channel. Instead of studying successful channels, they reinvent everything. Someone wants to build a business. Instead of learning from successful businesses, they create their own complicated system. Someone wants to become wealthy. Instead of studying proven investors, they trust random instincts. Years pass. Results stay the same. And they never stop to ask, what if someone already solved this problem? Here's the mistake most people make. They copy actions, not principles. Someone hears that a successful entrepreneur wakes up at 5 in the morning. So they wake up at 5. A week later, they quit. Why? Because they copied the action. Not the reason behind it. The entrepreneur wasn't successful because they woke up at 5. They woke up at 5 because they needed uninterrupted time for deep work. The action was visible. The principle was hidden. Success lives in hidden principles, not visible actions. That's why shallow copying rarely works, and deep copying often changes lives. A friend once asked why her content wasn't growing. The videos looked professional. The editing was solid. The thumbnails were attractive. Everything seemed fine. So I asked one question. Who is the biggest creator in your niche? She showed me a channel with millions of views. We compared the two. The successful creator used shorter videos, simpler titles, proven topics. Meanwhile, she was doing everything differently. When I asked why, she said, I want to be original. And that's exactly where many people get stuck. They try to innovate before they understand. But originality without understanding is often just guessing. She eventually changed her approach. Not forever, just long enough to learn the game. A few months later, her results improved dramatically, not because she became more creative, because she stopped guessing and started learning. If you want to use this idea yourself, follow what I call the copy. Understand, innovate framework. Step 1. Find your Buffett. Find one person who already has the results you want. 1. Not 10, not 20. 1. Step 2. Study deeply. Don't study what they do. Study why they do it. Step 3. Apply consistently. Don't quit after a week. Give the process time. Step 4. Only innovate after understanding. Not before. After. Because innovation built on ignorance usually fails. Innovation built on understanding can change your life. Remember the treasure map from the beginning of this video? Most people think success comes from drawing a better map. But the people who move fastest usually do something different. They use the map. They follow it long enough to understand the terrain. Only then do they begin creating shortcuts of their own. That is the difference between imitation and innovation. Imitation gets you to the destination. Innovation improves the journey. So, before you spend another year trying to reinvent the wheel, ask yourself one honest question. Has someone already achieved the result I want? And if they have, am I learning from them? Or is my ego getting in the way? Because the people we call innovators often began somewhere much less glamorous. They started as students. They started as observers. They started as imitators. And perhaps the fastest way to become original is not trying to be original at all. Perhaps it's understanding what already works, then building something better from there. That is how many great thinkers learned, and it might be exactly what you're missing right now.